Hello and welcome to Activating Magic. I'm your host, Darla Ledoux. I'm here today with Caryn Gillen. Hi, Caryn.
I should have told you it's Caryn.
Oh, you have it right in your
New
thing.
clean recording.
No worries. We'll start over.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to Activating Magic. I'm your host, Darla Ledoux. I'm here today with Caryn Gillen. She is an amazing coach, and I can't wait to dive in.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hi. Yes. So we met at an event years ago, and one of the things that stood out to me where I thought I wanted to have you on is I felt your depth and your like solid skill set as a coach
Hmm.
and your authenticity. And like the way it occurred to me is this willingness to be real and kind of pick and choose which of the things. I don't even remember which event we were at or what we were learning, but
Hmm.
like you were going to do it your way. And I really love
Hmm.
that about you. So, can you share a little bit about what brought you into the world of coaching to begin with?
Well, when I was like 22, I had this moment of, I called it an affliction, and it lasted this entire trip to Spain until I figured out, like, what is this thing called that is who I am so I can go and become it? Because I had looked out in the world. I grew up on an island with 3,000 people, and I'd looked at all of their lives, and I thought, I like none of those lives are for me. So what is this thing called? And that's when I discovered life coaching. And I ended up getting a master's in counseling psychology because I was like, someday they'll regulate that. They still haven't. But after working as a therapist for a year and 5 months and then traveling the world a bit, I had this very clear kind of like knowing kind of lightning bolt come down on this little island in Thailand. And I was like, it's not fair for me and it's not fair for my clients that I want to be a life coach and they're coming to me for therapy. So I have to go do this thing.
Wow. I think it's so inspiring that you even learned about this so young and got on your path so quickly. I grew up in a town of 500, so I know how that is to kind of
Yeah.
look around and go, is this for me? What am I doing here? Who
Yeah.
dropped me in this place?
Hmm.
And so you said, you were traveling and you had this moment. Like, was there something that happened or just an awareness from getting out?
Well, one of the first countries we went to was Australia. And I went to like all these used bookstores and I was seeking, finding the books, the therapy books. I had all these thoughts like, other therapists seem to like know things I don't know. Maybe because I didn't get an undergrad in psychology, I missed something, but I could clearly tell something was missing. And I kept
Mm,
trying and trying and trying to find it and reading all of these books and it never landing for me.
mm,
And the only reason I became a therapist, and by the time I was in that room in Thailand, we had been traveling for 5 months. It was almost over
mm.
this trip.
Okay.
And I'd had enough time to be far enough away from any of the shoulds or just being in school to be a therapist and doing the work. And I think it finally created enough space that I could come back to
Mm,
that moment of like, this wasn't what I intended in the first place. I'm on the wrong track. It's nothing wrong with me, nothing wrong with anybody else. I wasn't supposed to be here.
wow. I mean, it makes a lot of sense that, I mean, it feels really intuitive that you said they're going to regulate this. It also makes a lot of sense being that young. I know I discovered coaching when I was, I think, 24, 25, and I was like, nobody's going to listen to me. What could I know?
Right.
So it took me about 10 years before I went and did it. And it makes sense that were conditioned to kind of take the legal path and the
Right.
straight and
Yeah.
narrow path and all of that.
Hmm.
So, Karin, for you, what was the difference between therapy and coaching? Like, what changed when you made that change?
I got to be who I was versus trying to fit inside of,
Mm,
the medical model box that
Mm,
therapists have to work from inside of. There has to be diagnoses, there's insurance panels, there's
mm.
all this conforming, and I am not good at conforming. I am a quick start. I am intuitive. I want to go where I want to go, and I want to go as soon as I know it, and I can't slow down. It kills me to slow down in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. Yeah.
So when you had that moment, how long did it take you to say, okay, I'm going a different direction?
So that was in Thailand. And then the next country was Argentina. And I found a coaches training institute training happening 2 hours after I landed from Mendoza in San Francisco. And so I got up there and went
Wow.
straight in my traveling clothes with my backpack to this training. So it was not long.
Mm, that's amazing. Wow. So when you think about, becoming a coach and helping your clients, and I know you help your clients be confident in business and comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and like,
Yeah.
you know, C
Sustainable.
CEOs,
Mm-hmm.
um, has there been a moment where you doubted that you could do this or you were, on the right track, or has it all been smooth sailing?
I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs.
Mm,
Um, my grandpa was a milkman, and then he bought a department store that then he
wow.
grew as he kind of expanded the city of Juneau, Alaska, and started a shopping mall with a bunch of people. My dad has a business that now my brother runs, my uncle runs, my grandpa's old business. My grandma had, businesses. So for me, it was never really a question of like, oh, can I be in business? Or, oh my God, I have to be in business. It was always kind of when will I and what will it be?
Mm,
So I didn't come in with a lot of those first questions that many of my clients have.
yeah. How does that help you with, your magic is your inner knowing. It's your divine guidance, your way of kind of picking up what's not being said. So as a coach, I believe that all good coaches are magical.
Mm-hmm.
And then you work with coaches as your clients. So what is that dynamic like for you? Like, how do you know what's not being said or what they really need? And how do you think coming from a family of entrepreneurs has influenced that?
I think, I mean, one of the things that I'm noticing as more of a strength, the family side of entrepreneurship, is that there's a lot of online business that is born and bred of online business, which
Mm,
is missing most of business as it's been done for eons, right? And I'm bringing in a lot that's been happening, business the way it's been done since the
mm,
early 1900s, which is kind of how it's been done for a long time. So I think that there's like a historical expansiveness to it. Like you don't have to show up like an online business owner. We just got here. But the things that have worked forever still work, whether your business happens to have an online presence or not.
mm,
And I think that our lives leave so many clues about what will work for us as we generate revenue and as we create impact. Whether you were in a job,
mm,
you were volunteering, you were just coming out of high school, like, I don't care. You have the clues. The legs of what can generate revenue for you are there. And I'm always just looking at and listening for the pings and the patterns that are really always presenting themselves.
Things and patterns. I love that. That sounds what in my system it would be called recognition magic.
Same, same.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Um, wow. Okay, so I really want to dive into that idea of because I think that maybe I'm speaking for myself. I feel like I've had this at some point, and clients have of, is this real? Like, do I have a real business? Is this even a real
Mm,
thing? Right? Like you said,
yeah.
it's not regulated, it's not.
Hmm.
Um, what are some of the things that people who come in and get trained by online business owners to be an online business, what are some of the things they miss in terms of, how business has historically been done?
I think the humanity in it, like all of us are human beings. Like,
Yeah,
people might complain, I only have 270 people on my list. I'm like, try to fit them in your house.
right.
That is a lot of humans who are paying attention, and that's a big deal. It's an honor and a privilege. Like we got to hold the space for them, because if they have shown up in our practices, they are showing up from a place of some sort of hope and some sort of
Mm.
vulnerability, that life can be different for me, that life can be better, that maybe there's more for me. And whether there's 270 or 27 people on your list, that's always really important, because even though coaching isn't regulated, business is, and business has expectations and
Mhm.
agreements, right? So I mean, I just believe if you have taken $1, you are in business. So you got to show up like it. People are expecting
Yeah.
things from you, and you have to be the professional that you're here to be.
Yeah. It's interesting. I have a big goal to grow my list this year. And as soon as I said it, I started relating again, not that not that I haven't, but relating to my newsletter differently,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like imagining that this newsletter is going to, infinitely more people, and how does that feel? So I love that presence with what we do have and not what's missing, right? That
Yeah.
these are all humans who are making choices.
Yeah. And that every newsletter we send only ever goes to one person. It's you and that one
Mhm.
person, probably in their hand, right? Like
Yeah.
it's really intimate.
Yes. I remember going to a mastermind once, and there was so much discussion about like what subject line is going to get people to do the thing. And I just thought, like, if this brain power was focused on something more significant, like
Yeah.
what would be possible?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when you talked about the pings and patterns,
Mm-hmm.
um, do you have an example of someone who maybe thought they didn't know what to do, and but you were able to see that they actually had a client attraction strategy, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever your language is for that?
I'll just share. I did an intensive with someone yesterday, and they showed up, and I ask a lot of questions before those, get a lot of data, and ask them to really kind of dig in and share a lot. And we got on the call, and I was like, well, this is either going to be great or she's going to hate me, because there was everything that she knew and she had done and she thought was the right like next steps. And then there was what I said, which was I just like felt all the energy behind everything that she wrote. And I looked at who she was and what she was craving. And I gave her exactly what she had never thought of. And that's what she thanked me for at the end. Um, and I think that's kind of the gift of it all. Like, we're gonna put it out there. Like, I'm willing to share my pings and nudges, and I'm willing to have you not jump on board with them. It's always great with me.
Yes.
But I think we have to be willing to share them. Otherwise, the people won't get them. Because it's not like I'm gonna like
Yeah.
get other people's messages and keep them for myself and have them have any value for me, you know?
Right. Right. Say more about this. Like, you read the form. I know this experience in my way, but you read the form and you felt all the energy behind it. Like, what was
Mm-hmm.
the essence of the energy?
The energy was, I know I have to do more, 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 but I don't want to. And it's not working for me. But I know that that's what I have to do. So here's what I think I should do if that's the truth, you know, because I think that's
Mm.
true. And what was so clear to me is like, you are a incredible, like skilled human being at this thing, like one of the top in their field, right? Like,
Mm.
what if you let yourself widen the playing field and fully love people and stopped letting them nickel and dime themselves with what they are able to buy from you? And so we just kind of, for me, it was a place of like, how can I help you get what you want, but also be able to unleash your service in a way that does all the things?
Mm. Is that a way of saying kind of raise your prices and give more to less people?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which isn't the same advice I would give anybody, right? It's just for this person,
Right.
it was like, this is so clear to me where you are and how you're positioned and who you know and all this
Mm.
stuff, that like this was, but they had missed it. They didn't see it because
Yeah.
they were in their rut of life that was not quite
Yes.
working.
Yes.
And we just got to periscope up and dive in.
Yeah, I talk about, what's hidden from our view and that energy pattern that would cloud everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would
Yeah.
filter and th so some version of I have to work hard and do things I don't want to do to get paid or whatever
Mm-hmm.
that might be. And yeah, when we're in it, I mean, I have plenty of my own examples. We can't see it. We can't see what
Mm-mm.
we're missing. And I just really love that you said, I'm willing to share and say what I see, and I'm willing to have them not take it.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a gift. And it's like a lot of people are so afraid to be wrong or, not have
Mm-hmm.
everything they say be received that they don't say the edgy thing.
Yeah. Right. I mean, sometimes I'll be coaching someone and I will hear a song in my head and I'll be like, this song's in my head. Right. Like just throw the
Yes.
stuff out there because sometimes it lands like in such a powerful way for people. I'm unwilling to miss out on those moments by controlling all the moments.
Yes. Yes. And have you always done that? Or have you ever had a season where you held it back?
I've pretty much always done it. I didn't always know what I was doing, um, but I've always done it. Yeah.
Wow. Um, this makes me curious because I work with so many people who are like really tentative and trusting their magic.
Mm-hmm.
I think of one of my past clients, has a marketing agency and her clients would come hire her and she would, do their social media and various email campaigns and she would get, like you're saying, songs, she would get words, she would like know things but she would ignore it because it wasn't, within her framework. So she'd go do the things that they wanted her to do. Meanwhile, this is screaming, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things I helped her work on is what if you just say it? Let's find
Yeah.
out. Like, what if that
Yeah.
actually increases your value? And I have so many people who struggle with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes me kind of curious, like how you came in, like just trusting yourself.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I think is if we're holding on to stuff like that, it's all about us and then we're missing them entirely anyway.
Mm.
Like when I think about if someone's energy body finds me and says yes to me, then I have to trust them with that. And we have to start there. And what that means is they get me. They don't get good marketer, good coach, quote unquote. They get me. And that means they get whatever comes up and they get to take it or leave it because I trust them and I trust that their choice was accurate. I'm
Mm.
not going to not give them me because it's what they came in for. It's what they paid for. Like, I don't want them to think that they were wrong, like, have the customer experience of, like, I don't know, like, I don't know why I hired you, but like, you just felt like the right fit. And then all of a sudden they're like, but you're just like everybody else. Like, what,
Mm.
like, was I wrong? No, they were right, but only if you actually give them what they signed up for.
That's really juicy. It's really juicy because people often think that they need to give something that the person doesn't already know,
Yeah. No, we
right?
all just want what we already know.
Yeah. So great. Like you're making them right in the process. I trust
Mm-hmm.
that you hired me and I'm a big believer that whatever's going on in our world, our clients are here for us and we're here for
Mm-hmm.
them. It's like a
Yeah.
mutual experience. And so yeah, if they hired you and this is what's happening for you, like that's truth.
Yeah. That's what they came for.
Yeah, beautiful. So I haven't downloaded your free gift yet, but I love the premise of it of helping people market in a way that they're actually just kind of showing their work. That's
Yeah.
rather than feeling like they have to go market and like create something.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about your philosophy on that?
Yeah. So we're working in the invisible arts. Our clients can walk around changed and no one will know. And so much of what we do happens behind closed Zoom room doors or phone calls, and no one gets to see it. And so the greatest things that happen inside of our businesses never make it out to the front stage. It's all back in the green room. So we have to find ways to highlight ourselves in the ways where we're in our strongest gifts. So, like one of the examples from that freebie is I coach people live on my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I notice is when people see me coach, they have that moment of like, oh, I think she's the coach for me. And I have to find ways to help people have that thought so that they can come in so that my business works. So, what are the ways we can, in however you want to do it? I think we can be as creative as we want. How can we bring the insides outside?
That's awesome. You know, I've been hosting retreats for quite some time. And one of the things I feel is so wonderful about people hosting retreats is there is this behind closed doors
Mm-hmm.
kind of space where people have all said, yes, you're my person, and you've said yes to whatever the promise is that you've created. And that's where the magic really gets to happen because people aren't thinking about how does this look on the internet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you know, does everybody agree with me or do they believe me or all of those things that can come up for people. You know, the people who stepped into your room believe you at least
Mm-hmm.
enough to, you know, get on a plane. And it, a lot of times the magic happens and people don't write it down or they don't, you know, they kind of think of their marketing as separate from that. And
Mm.
for me, everything I've developed has been, oh, I taught this on retreat. People really got a lot of value from it. I'm going to do it again. Okay, I'm going to do it again. Okay, maybe I should write this
Yeah.
down. Maybe I
Yeah.
should, you know, use that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it makes me think about. So if you were having advice for someone who's a retreat leader to show their work, what would you say?
Ooh, I wonder if it would be fun to lead like a virtual retreat from your stories. Like where you
Mm.
like
Oh.
welcome people into the door. It could be before that you show them like here's the welcome packet. Um, you give them a tour of the house, you show them which room would be theirs. And you spend like a couple days kind of deep diving and like now it's lunchtime, like here's this amazing food we would prepare, like kind of do like a retreat
Wow. I
with
love
your
that.
whole. I think that could be really fun because like who doesn't love those like behind the scenes or like
Mm.
room tours of a hotel or any of that kind of stuff. And you
Yeah,
can,
there's such like
yeah,
potential.
yeah, I think that would be one. I think talking and storytelling and getting some client stories just about not even people's takeaway from a retreat, but of the what is the magic that's created because you chose to say yes to
Mm.
to having this encapsulated time of 3 days or whatever it is. Like what becomes true when you're a person who says yes to something like that?
Mm. That's beautiful. Um, I'm thinking about like what I'm finding really unique about you in this conversation of your deep, deep self-trust and like moving in the direction of your soul path so quickly in life. And it makes me kind of curious to share with people like what's life like for you? What are you excited about? What's yeah, like tell people a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about what your life looks like as a business owner.
Yeah. Well, I just have been through the process of moving, and that was from I was sitting on the porch of my old house, and I had this moment looking out into my backyard. I had an acre of land, and
Mm.
I was like, what if I did this? And what if I just built a house right there, built the house I want to live in right in my backyard? And I just kept taking these steps. And then now I live here. But it was 3.5 years ago when I asked that question. So my life has really been looking like a lot of the process of moving and being in the creation of a physical building and everything that requires and selling a home. And it's really taken a lot away from my business, actually. Like my
Mm.
main things that I did last year weren't business related, which was the first time in a really long time. So Um, Life looks different than it ever has. And I am so excited to get to this winter holiday because I'll finally be moved in and I can be present again in a way that I haven't been able to be for a couple of years, it feels like.
I think so many people I know are feeling that vibe around this holiday
Mm-hmm.
season of like, ooh, it's a reset. It's like something
Yeah.
new. Mhm.
Yeah. We can be different on the other side.
Right.
Yeah.
So your home is in the yard of your old home?
Yeah. So I split off the property. I worked with an
Amazing.
architect, found a builder, and now here we are.
I would love to do that. I actually just this year put on my vision board to create a custom home. So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
love
Well,
that. It's there.
mm-hmm. It can happen. Here
Um,
we are.
I love it. Yeah. What's most exciting about your new space? Like, what did you design in that you're excited about?
I think it's the light.
Mm.
So when you get to work with an architect, you can build a home for the exact people who are going to live there and for the exact way the sun tracks over the property and understand where the light comes in.
Mm.
And that's a
Mm.
pretty uh creative, amazing, artistic thing to be in a space. You know, a lot of houses are just plans off the internet and you just put them places. But to build a
Mm.
home where it was specifically designed for the entire environment is it just feels different.
Mm.
Yeah.
You said, where the light comes in. When when I talk with magical humans, often there's conversation about the light and the dark and,
Mm-hmm.
the energies on the planet right now. How are you experiencing that for yourself and with your clients? What advice would you have as we navigate, 2025 and whatever may
Mm-hmm.
come?
Yeah. I personally felt like this year had a lot of heaviness in it,
Mhm.
2024. And it kind of just kept coming on the local level and all over the place. And I don't know, it feels like there's a little bit of a reprieve right now, which is good. But I think the thing that is really coming up for me right now is it feels more important than ever for me to help small businesses make money
Mm.
because small business is what supports community. And I think our communities are going to need a lot of support. And the more successful we are as small business owners, the more we can
Mm.
show up and, you know, put our money where it needs to be.
Yeah. What would you say to the coach that thinks they are not a small business?
There's coaches who don't think they're a small business. What does that mean? Because they don't think they're a business?
Right. That it's
Ah,
kind of like, oh, I'm just doing this thing, right? They haven't yet embraced being a CEO.
yeah. Don't underestimate your impact. The only thing that has ever changed the world is small businesses in communities, right?
Mm.
Like everything happens. I want you to look around and like think about the impact on a high school, on a library, on the way your taxes pay to keep the roads paved and the mail coming. Like everything that we do and pay into as small business owners is what keeps our communities running and thriving. And when that grows and you can donate more to the food bank and you can donate to the domestic violence shelter and you can do things that you really want to do that are in line with your values with your money, like small business is fun. You get to change the world in the way that you want to with the money that you bring in.
I love that. Last night we were at a Christmas party for my partner's company. So he owns a small business here locally, and he's got like, I don't know, 25 employees or something like that. And I was really present to like a lot of these younger women who work there. It's a spa, so there's mostly women,
Mm-hmm.
and the impact of the community and the culture, and really how people's lives can be changed just by the training that they get when they come through there. And for me,
Yep.
it's the love, the love
Yeah.
that they get knowing that they're seen. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm really present with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing what small businesses get to do. Like we look at and be you can be impressed with the people who employ thousands and thousands of people, but there are so many more people employing two people. or just themselves and creating a great job and a great company culture for themselves. And I think that's the invitation for all of us as solopreneurs
Mhm.
is like most of us had bosses that weren't that great before. So let's make
Yeah.
sure we're the great ones.
Especially for ourselves.
Exactly.
Talk about Comfortable in Business, your new membership.
Yeah. So Comfortable in Business was born out of a lot of conversations with coaches in the last year, um, coming to me and talking about, what they're ready for and what kind of support they need and what they're going after. And the name actually, I was out sitting in my hot tub and the name just like dropped into my head from who knows where. And I was
Source.
like, yep. I was
I
like, oh,
say.
source, dropped that in. I was like, okay, this is what it's called. Cause I was still like, am I going to do it? Is it a membership? And then it was like, I have a name, so we can go forward now.
Mm,
So it's really for coaches who are in that startup to consistent 5K months range
mm,
where we're doing so many brand new things. We're doing so many one time only things and we're developing and refining that like what business owner am I, how do I show up? And I think learning kind of what you're talking about, that how do I take myself seriously as a business owner, how do I do this in a way that really works for me? Because I've been a coach for 15 years. I've seen a lot of people get really successful and I've seen a lot of people have to recover from the way that they built. And
yes.
my hope is that when you join Comfortable in Business, we build in a way that you don't have to recover from, because I don't think any of us have the time or the energy to have to go through that.
Beautiful. What kind of business owner am I? I love that.
Mhm. You get to
Yeah.
decide.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of people creating memberships lately. I'm curious, like, was that an intuitive hit?
Yeah, I never set out to do it. I feel
Uh-huh.
like I walked out of my office one day from a call and I was like, well, that just happened. And I had created a membership because it's not like it was on the plan. But it wanted to happen. It's been going really well. I'm like kind of floored by the fact that most people are in for a full year. They're not doing the month to month. And that's felt really
Mm.
encouraging at the start. So it's been really cool.
Awesome. If people come and get your gift about marketing your business, by showing the behind the scenes, will they get invited to Comfortable in Business? Is that
Oh,
set up or should we send them somewhere else also?
we should send them somewhere else also because I'm
Okay,
still catching up with myself. Yeah.
awesome. So how do they find out about Comfortable in Business?
You can go to my website, caryngillen.com, and then it's / comfortable in business. Pretty easy.
Perfect.
Otherwise,
We'll
I'm
put
on
that below.
Instagram and you can just hit me up. It's in my bio too.
I really love that. I love the specificity and that you're helping people kind of, I call them experiments when they're figuring
Hmm.
out what's really going to work and,
Yeah.
what's worth systematizing. And to have other people who are doing that too is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really fun.
So the last question I always like to ask people is if you imagine someone, let's say in, your small town you grew up in, or my small town I grew up in, and maybe they have this urge to create a coaching business or to bring their magic forward in their work, but the people around them aren't, like you were saying, aren't having the lives that they want to have.
Hmm.
What words of wisdom would you give them?
Protect the baby.
Hmm.
You think about a brand new born baby, you don't just hand that thing over to anybody. And I think it's the same thing when we start a business because we've got this like new, fragile, hopeful, vulnerable dream. And we should not hand it to just anybody. We shouldn't just hand it over to someone who has no idea how to care for our dream, no idea what our dream is even about. Because a lot of times in local community, not everyone understands coaching,
Mhm.
right? It'd been a long time, but just last Christmas, I had a dentist say, like, what kind of coaching? Like basketball? Like there are still people who don't know what life coaching is. So I think it's define who the people are that you can trust with your dreams and only talk about it with them. And
Mhm.
also be really clear about what you're looking for in response. So if you don't want them to give you business advice, just be like,
Mhm.
I don't want advice. I just want to share. Otherwise, people are going to like, you're networking, everyone's going to come at you with everything they know, whether you need it or not. So I think it's important to say, here's what I'm looking for. I just want your support. I just want you to know I don't need anything from you. And you just take really good care of that dream when it's new and find people who support it and will support it well.
That's great advice. I can't tell you how many times I've had a client say, "Oh, I developed this and I was really excited. And then, people gave me feedback that it would never work." And it's like, okay, who are those people?
Yeah. Yeah,
Do they
exactly.
actually know? Where are they?
Yeah.
What's their come from?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
beautiful. Thank you, Caryn. Anything else you want to leave people with?
No, I just think it's amazing to be here and reconnect with you. And I appreciate this conversation because I think it's really important.
Agreed. Thank you so
Hmm.
much for saying yes. And thank you for who you are in the world. I really appreciate you.
You too. Thank you.